Hi, I'm Scott.
Hi, I'm Noah.
Hi, I'm Emma.
Hi, I'm Paul.
Hi, I'm Christy.
In October, Canada declared recreational use of marijuana legal throughout the entire country. Closer to home, recreational marijuana use is now legal in 10 states and the District of Columbia. And in 33 states, marijuana use for medicinal purposes is legal. So how could something that is bad for you, bad for your community, and bad for your country be legal? Seriously, why would the very government that exists to ensure law and order is in place and citizens are protected from harm pass laws that could cause harm? Well, the answer is about as clear as mud, and while the answer could in and of itself create a lengthy debate, for the purposes of this speech, we will focus on the fact that the risks associated with marijuana use far exceed the benefits. The legalization of marijuana is growing at rapid rates across the country. Unfortunately, the impacts of this legalization have not been studied at equally rapid rates. While marijuana is often portrayed by its advocates as an innocent, non-habit-forming, unfairly illicit drug, science and research argues otherwise. Marijuana is hands down the most commonly used illicit drug among all age categories. National polls indicate that nearly half of all American adults have tried marijuana and at least 22% consider themselves regular users. However, while some people responded honestly to drug polls, we know that there are a significant percentage who don't. Therefore, it is safe to say that the actual marijuana usage is likely underreported. Regardless, while it is the most commonly used illicit drug, its long-term effects and impacts on individual health and level of addictiveness are grossly understudied. Several studies on chronic marijuana use among adolescents indicate that chronic use may interfere with normal development of the adolescent brain, and marijuana use among teens may be worse than alcohol use. Certain areas of the brain, such as the hippocampus and the cerebral cortex, have a higher concentration of cannabinoid receptors. These are the same structures of the brain that are also involved with addiction and dependence. These areas influence one's memory, concentration, coordination, sensory, and time perception. Many of these areas are reported as altered among chronic users over time. With potency levels increasing in the cultivation of modern-day marijuana, we can expect to see increased impacts of memory lapse, decreased ability to concentrate, and lack of gross motor and fine motor skill coordination among regular and chronic users. Marijuana dependency occurs when the brain adapts to large amounts of the drugs and requires more and more to achieve the desired level of euphoric effect. While much more longitudinal research needs to be done on marijuana use and its effects on the body and the brain, all existing research indicates that it has a significant amount of negative physical impacts. These, coupled with the frequently experienced behavioral impacts such as depression, agitation, and loss of interest in activities, are all indications that any benefits of marijuana use are clearly overshadowed by the potential adverse effects. While many marijuana advocates believe legalization of the drug is the answer to fighting the war on drugs, many researchers and substance abuse treatment professionals arguably disagree, demonstrating that a large percentage of marijuana users, marijuana remains a gateway drug. In speaking with a local substance abuse treatment provider, it was shared that of the 40,000 individuals they treat over the course of a year, at least 90% report having used marijuana at least some point in their lifetime. This provides strong evidence that for some, not all, marijuana is a gateway to a life of other drugs and long-term addiction. Given the fact that researchers estimate in 2015 that there were in excess of 4 million people diagnosed with chronic marijuana use disorder, but less than 150 sought treatment, is an indication that this is a chronic health concern which has not yet received the level of attention warranted. The cost of this gateway drug to society is also extensive in lost work and wages, increased public safety concerns, increased healthcare costs, increased incarceration, and increased court costs and time. As technology and growing techniques develop further, so too will the THC potency. This will in turn lead to an increase in the intensity and the effect of the drug on the body. What used to be a mild effect on the individual may create a much more significant effect on the same individual, even though its dose may still be the same. If not careful, the marijuana industry could become the next tobacco industry. We have seen the ramifications the tobacco industry has created in our country, and we, the taxpayers, are paying for the negative impacts tobacco has had on our society throughout the medical costs, early and long-term use by minors, and resulting addiction issues. While the tobacco industry is regulated, much of the regulation has come after the damage has been done. There is still little necessary regulation in place to prepare and plan for the legalization of marijuana. Should it be permitted as freely as tobacco products? How do employers handle smoking marijuana during the workday? Will treating legal marijuana differently than tobacco cause civil rights issues? Do marijuana users pay higher healthcare rates like many smokers do? These are all real questions that need to be answered in scenarios that need to be dealt with. Proponents of marijuana want you to believe that it is a no harm and no habit forming drug. However, more than sufficient evidence exists to dispute this claim. Secondly, marijuana proponents argue the need of marijuana for medicinal purposes. The medicinal qualities of marijuana have been used and have been available to those in the medicinal needs since the 27th century BC. Ironically, since the medical marijuana has been legalized in a number of states, there appears to be cannabis doctor shops opening almost daily. Soon it will be as common as the corner Walgreens. I find it odd that suddenly thousands of people require medicinal marijuana as soon as the law changes. How were they treated medically before? Are we going to revert back to the chronic pain center epidemics Florida experienced several years back? If you recall, that was instrumental in creating Florida's current opioid crisis. There is no doubt about it, marijuana is a lucrative industry. According to the New Frontier data, the marijuana industry is expected to exceed $24 billion by the year 2015. The facts remain, the good is still far outshined by the bad and the ugly of marijuana. It is clear the legalization of marijuana carries more risk than the documented benefits. Marijuana use rewires the brain after extended use, and the long-term impacts of those risks are not fully understood due to the lack of longitudinal studies available. Regular and ongoing use leads to increased dependency, which leads to increased level of addiction and entry into other more damaging and potentially deadly drugs. Finally, legalization of marijuana comes with a host of regulation concerns that have yet to be addressed, and no solution yet formulated on the horizon. There are societal impacts that have yet to be assessed, and the cost in the form of increased healthcare, emergency and law enforcement response, regulation costs, etc., that would undoubtedly be passed on to you and I, the taxpayer. The bottom line is that there is hard, validated clinical experience that exists that demonstrates marijuana remains a harmfully illicit drug. Nothing has been changed in the development of the drug that would warrant it no longer be considered a Schedule I illegal drug, a designation that is not made lightly. We owe it to our children to gain control of the addiction epidemic our communities are currently engaged in, and that begins with teaching the real dangers associated with marijuana usage. Thank you.
Scott.
Noah.
Emma.
Paul.
Christy.